Rachel Thompson was 27 when she felt the call. She had always been devoted to her faith. She grew up in a small town in Ohio where church on Sunday was the most important part of the week. One night, while praying, Rachel felt something different. It was as if her heart was being pulled towards something bigger. She felt Jesus speak to her not in words, but in a deep, quiet feeling. She opened her Bible, and her eyes landed on a verse from Matthew. "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat." Tears filled her eyes. She whispered, "Lord, where do you want me to go?" She found the answer the next day while scrolling through Facebook. A post from a missionary group talked about hunger in Uganda, especially in a town called Jinja. The pictures showed children with big eyes, thin arms, and empty plates. "This is it," she said. "Jesus wants me to go there." Rachel sold most of her belongings, raised some money through her church, and bought a one-way ticket to Uganda. Jinja was nothing like Ohio. It was hot, dusty, and noisy, but it was also full of life and color. People smiled at her as she passed. Children laughed and played in the streets. But she could also see hunger, real hunger. She rented a small home and soon began her mission. Using the donations she had raised, she started a small feeding program. Every morning, she would prepare porridge and fruit. Dozens of children would line up at her gate, barefoot and hungry, but smiling. She hugged them, prayed with them, and fed them. The word spread fast. Within a few months, Rachel had more than 100 children coming every day. Locals started calling her Mama Rachel. She was happy. One morning, Rachel received a phone call from a nearby clinic. A nurse on the line introduced herself. "We heard that you are feeding children in the community," the nurse said. "We have many children at our clinic who are sick and not getting enough food. Would you be willing to help us too?" Without hesitation, Rachel said yes. The next day, several children arrived at her home, each with a parent or guardian. Some were thin and weak, others could not walk or talk. Rachel welcomed them all with open arms. She expanded her feeding program to include these clinic children. Her days became longer, her work harder, but she believed she was doing God's work. Over time, Rachel began to feel frustrated. Some of the children were not getting better. Even though they were eating, they remained sick. She began to wonder, what else can I do? She watched online videos and read blogs about nutrition, medicine, and childcare. She believed that maybe she could do more than feed the children. Maybe she could heal them too. Rachel started ordering basic medical supplies from Amazon, vitamins, syringes, antibiotics, and other items she did not fully understand. She didn't have medical training, but she told herself, "Jesus will guide my hands." She began giving children injections. Some were vitamins, some were medications. Sometimes she mixed treatments she had read about online. Parents trusted her. They saw her as a miracle worker. But then the first child died. It was a little boy named Samuel. He was only 4 years old. He had a high fever, and Rachel gave him an injection she thought would help. Hours later, he stopped breathing. Rachel was devastated. She cried for days, but she told herself it was not her fault. His sickness was too strong, she said. But then it happened again. And again. More children began to die, some quietly in their sleep, others after injections or new treatments Rachel tried. By the end of the year, over 800 children had passed through her care and died. The community began to whisper. Some parents still believed in her, thinking it was God's will. Others started to question her methods. One day, a Ugandan nurse named Miriam visited the facility. She had heard troubling rumors and decided to find out the truth for herself. She introduced herself to Rachel as someone who wanted to volunteer. "I have worked in hospitals," she said. "Maybe I can help you." Rachel welcomed her, happy to have extra hands. For weeks, Miriam quietly observed. She looked through medical records, checked the supplies Rachel was using, and listened to the stories from parents. What she found shocked her. Rachel had no certifications. She was not a nurse, not a doctor, not even trained in first aid. Many of the drugs she was using were not meant for children or had expired. She had been mixing medications that should never be combined. Miriam felt sick to her stomach. She knew she had to report it. Within days, health officials arrived. The facility was closed immediately. Parents were devastated. Some refused to believe the truth. Others were furious. Rachel was questioned but not arrested. There were no criminal charges filed, but she was taken to court in a civil case. A judge in Uganda ordered her to pay $9,000 to each family as compensation. She had no money left. Her church in Ohio, once proud of her, distanced themselves. News outlets around the world picked up the story. Years passed. Rachel never tried to speak publicly. She never defended herself. She spent her days in silence, often walking in the woods behind her parents' house. Her journal entries changed. From "Thank you, Jesus," to "Forgive me, Lord." She began to understand that good intentions are not enough. That love alone is not enough. That stepping into roles you are not trained for, no matter how kind your heart, can cause more harm than good. One evening, she met a woman who had just escaped an abusive home with her child. Rachel sat with her, listened, and said only this: "I thought I came to save others, but I had so much to learn. I am sorry for the people I hurt, and I am trying to spend the rest of my life doing better."